Don't look at the cameras.
All right, cool. All right, we are back on here. I'm Matt Binder here on the Progressive Victory YouTube channel, and joining me now is JREG. There you go. Why don't you tell people who aren't familiar with you, which is ridiculous because we're on YouTube, and there are way more people familiar with you than there are with me. But for people who aren't familiar with you, tell them who you are.
I'm JREG, and I do funny little videos on YouTube.com, sometimes about topics that are political. And politically, I'm an anti-centrist, which means I think we should destroy the status quo. And that's why I'm supporting Jamal.
I like to hear it.
Far left versus centrist. Smelly, stinky, dirty centrist.
I like to hear it.
Yeah.
So give me an example. Like, what's the most recent political video that you put up there?
I did a video about how anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism, and I did it from the perspective of an anti-Semitic Zionist.
I like that a lot, actually, because it's a funny concept, but also there is this belief among some far-right people in Israel
Yes.
that the Jewish people who died during the Holocaust were like weak, and that they wouldn't have it wouldn't have gone down the same way if they were there.
Yeah.
Sort of like what's his face? That actor Marky Mark with his 9/11 take, where if he was on the planes, 9/11 would have went down differently.
Yeah.
It's like, no, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but those kinds of hair-splitting beliefs, I mean, this is not a popular political perspective, but I just like the nicheness and the granularity and how weird thoughts can get, and that's like one example of that. It's also like...
No, but it's smart, because it shows something that's real. Like, that's a real... It's not even like like your version of it might be over the top, but it is a real constituency over there.
Yeah, well, I was looking into the whole concept of like anti-Semitic Zionism, and it's I guess the concept is like go to Israel,
right?
Leave.
Right. So I'm guessing, based on like that most recent video that you put out, that like Jamaal Bowman's position on Israel and Palestine is a huge draw for why you decided to get involved here. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I think that they're a force for the status quo in many ways, which are bad, and I don't like that. I think that the way things are need to change, and their influence should be stopped.
Right. So what about Jamaal Bowman? What part of that does he give for?
Well, he's one of the few people who is willing to take a stance on that. And you can see that he's been canvassed incredibly hard against by a lot of money coming from somewhere, which is bad. And so I'm just here to show my support against that.
Right. So how have you used your YouTube audience? Because you have, how big is your channel?
500,000.
500,000. So you have 500,000 people who subscribe to you. Your videos get a lot of views. You're not one of those channels that like grew a subscriber base, disappeared, and then they come back and they only got like 1,000 views on their videos, even though they have all these subscribers. You have this huge audience. How have you used that audience to further, share and spread your political beliefs?
I try to create a big tent of people who can feel comfortable engaging with what I do, and so within those different tents, I allow for a little bit of autonomy. But I hope that we can find common ground in certain areas, like recognizing that bad things are happening in other places. For example, Palestine. That we should probably encourage a little less of, maybe even a lot less of. There's all kinds of people who think that there's bad things happening there, and if those people can all agree that there's bad things happening there, maybe we can like talk about it and push things forward.
Right.
In that way, yeah.
Now, when I was speaking with you earlier, you had mentioned that you are Canadian.
I am Canadian. I'm doing foreign election interference.
Foreign election interference. Well, to be fair, you are an officially registered foreign agent, though.
Yes.
So it is on the up and up. Everyone knows.
Yes, I'm an officially registered foreign agent. Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
Okay, so it is legit. No, but like, how much of America's politics, how much of that has bearing on what happens in Canada?
It's completely 100% has bearing. I didn't know I had Canadian politics until I was like 19.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought I was just an American guy. So yeah, America has a big influence, and anything that happens in America typically happens in Canada later. If you guys elect a right-wing populist, we'll elect a right-wing populist 5 years later.
I know where you're going with this. We're gonna have real problems in a couple of years. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, we're gonna, yeah.
What's his name again?
Pierre Poilievre.
Pierre. Yeah. Oof.
Oof, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not the least of which for his stance on certain groups of people. Israel.
Yeah. It is really something that I think liberals, and I mean liberals like, people who are to the right of progressives or leftists, but still allies, people who are, more normie Democrats. Like, I really do think there's a huge gap, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, between their understanding of the political ideologies that they hate, the Trumps, the Trump Republicans, the MAGA base, that they're really worried about because those people are against everything that they believe. How much of those people are aligned with Israel and its right-wing government, but also the other way around too, how much Israel and the right in Israel is aligned with Trump and MAGA and the far right. And that ability for them to not see the two as equal is going to be detrimental to them, because they are supporting a government and a country at this point that is firmly part of the global far right. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, America number one. I gotta say, as a Canadian sucking up to Americans, that's what I gotta say. And so I think, I get it. America should just fund whatever they want to, as long as it helps their interest in some vague way, which I don't fully understand, but that's what I keep hearing.
Right.
I keep hearing it somehow helps their interest to do all the things that they're doing.
Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East we hear all the time.
But here's my problem with centrist normie Democrats is, just be far right. I mean, if you're gonna why all these mental gymnastics? Or just pick a team.
Right.
Just go further left, further right.
The thing is, I think I do think there is a large, like the people who are really into politics, like the normie establishment Dems who are very political, like the K-Hive and the Joe Biden stalwarts. I think they know where they stand on Israel. But I actually do think the vast majority of the Democratic base, just like the voters, they're just not in tune with it enough.
Yeah.
And I feel like once they understand just how much Netanyahu and Trump are the same. In fact, I think Netanyahu is even, if it's even possible, further to the right than Trump.
I think so as well.
That, hey, maybe we shouldn't be so supportive of Israel, as long as, at the very least, as long as they are controlled by this right-wing government. And in turn, honestly, it's not even just the government at this point. Israel's right-wing government's been in power for so long that the default for a lot of Israel's politics in general is right-wing. And, I would love to hear your thoughts on this too. Like, I usually say that, Israel right now is in the same place America was post 9/11, where George Bush had 98% approval rating. Any critique of him meant you were supported terrorists and you hated America. And I think that's where that country is. And it took the U.S. a long time to get out of that. But then at the same time, we never even really came to terms with what happened there. This country has never come to face with the rampant Islamophobia that came as a result of 9/11. In fact, because we never have, we're seeing a lot of it come back now. And do we see any of that in I'm assuming yes, because of what you just said about how America and Canada are so aligned. We see that in Canada, I'm assuming.
Yeah, there's a little bit of it. We drink a lot more fluoride than you guys, so we don't do quite as much of that. But you do see that. I think all kinds of phobias are back on the menu. All kinds of phobias and antis. Yeah. I think anti-Semitism is back on the menu. I also think Islamophobia is back on the menu. I think being anti-whitey is back on the menu. I think there's a lot of things back on the menu.
Ooh, the right wing's eating good right now.
We're eating good. Many people are eating good. Yeah, but yeah, basically, I just look to what you guys are doing, and then I make a little calendar. I say 5 years, I'll expect this to happen. And place my bets accordingly.
Let's talk about Pierre. What's his last name?
Poilievre.
Poilievre.
Yeah, French last name.
Right. That's
Ew.
why. That's why I don't know how to say it because we're
Gross.
still. Pierre Freedom is what we call him over here. Because,
yeah, pure freedom.
Yeah, we replace all. Anytime you use the word French, use freedom instead.
Freedom. Yeah, I like that.
So tell me a bit about what we could expect from a Pierre Freedom. Like, again, we're in a situation sort of like you guys are in a situation like what we are. You got Biden, this sort of like centrist Dem who has been, when you look at, like, again, the bar is low, but when you look at recent presidents, has somehow on every issue but Palestine and Israel, has been probably one of the more progressive presidents in modern times.
Yes, it's true.
Even with him being this centrist Dem. And then we have this far-right demagogue in Trump.
Yes.
It sort of looks like that's the same thing over there with...
yeah, we have Trudeau and Poilievre.
Right, so tell me a little bit about those dynamics there.
Trudeau is comparable to Biden. He represents a sort of neoliberal regime. And the opponent is someone who has kind of co-opted. We had the PPC, which was the further right party in Canada, and our Conservative Party ate up a lot of their votes by swinging further to the right. So our Conservative Party would run a lot of center-right candidates over and over again, milquetoast, boring, and then they have a new, more populist right-winger who like campaigns with the truckers, talks to the truckers. The question of how truly populist he is, I think I call him populish.
Right.
He's not quite a Trump character.
Right.
And in fact, he doesn't really have anything to say about something like immigration. And a lot of the people voting for him on the right are voting for him because they assume he has a take on immigration. He really doesn't. He's more of like a libertarian capitalist kind of deregulate everything sort of vibe. Although he does have some. He's got like an interesting concept where like he'll give you a certain number of houses you have to build. Our housing situation is horrific in Canada.
Oh, really? We don't have that problem here.
No, I know, but it's even worse. You'll have to take my word for it. It's I don't know how much. It's slightly worse probably. And yeah, there's some interesting like central planning stuff that he's proposed, but yeah, it's a fairly similar situation. I think a lot of I think there's a lot of parallels to be drawn. A lot of Western places that you can make those parallels. Yeah.
Right. Now he had. I know of him. I know of him generally because I partake in political media. But the moment where he sort of crossed over to a more mainstream, non-Canadian audience is that viral clip of him chomping on the apple.
Yes. Yeah. He's quite good at playing the media angle, right? So he's all like no one in Canada, again because of the fluoride. They've got that glassy stare.
They didn't get the warnings from Alex Jones. That's
they didn't get the warnings from Alex Jones.
Okay.
Yeah, they got that glassy stare, and Poilievre is pretty capable of making good clips. And we have this thing called question period in Canada, which has historically been recorded. And at some point, politicians realized, oh, this is going on YouTube. I can make a scene of this, and then it's just a shit show, really.
Right.
It's just people going at it, and nothing really gets done, and no conversations really happen that are meaningful.
Right.
It's mostly just, Mr. Speaker, my opponent is a stupid dum-dum head, and then Trudeau's like, no, you're a stupid dum-dum head, and then they clip that, and Pierre gets a bajillion views.
Right.
Which is a good strat.
Right. I mean, it's again, the America and Canada might as well be the same country.
Yeah, I think you guys should annex us ASAP because coming here was a disaster at the border. Every time I go through this border to go to a country which is basically just the same as my country.
Right.
I don't want to get probed.
Except for the whole thing where you guys still recognize the king of England.
Yeah. Well, there's kind of a political spectrum there in Canada. Do you want to be more like America or more like England?
Right.
And the right-wingers tend to be more
English.
pro-England.
Yeah.
No, sorry, the right-wingers tend to be more pro-American, actually.
Really?
Yeah, because of the deregulation aspect and capitalism and such.
Right.
And we tend
and
to
the
be
left
more...
historically loves our monarchies.
See, that's... Okay, so this is actually a weird thing about Canadian politics, is, the left, like the Liberals, are the most pro-monarchy. But it's
so weird.
I think there's a lot of ways you can spin that. I think one of the philosophical ways you spin that is like there's an appetite for authoritarianism within all of us, so we give all of our authoritarian desire to a useless king. And
But in America, that dynamic is, while there's no one here who's really like, hail the King of England, like the right would love for Trump
it's true.
to be a king.
It's true.
And the left here, even just like progressives or liberals, they in some ways maybe, but not as directly like, we want an authoritarian figure. Like, yeah, maybe they, some liberals and establishment Dems look at Biden as, don't criticize him, he's our president. But it's not the same where like, when Biden's time is up, they will be like, all right, farewell, Biden, on to the next. It's not like they're like, bring on Hunter. Like we want the president's family to reign.
I'm very excited about the prospect of them, grooming Donald Trump, Baron Trump, to be like the next Caesar.
Yeah, but that's what they want. They're ready for like, all right, there'll be a small period of time where either Don Jr. or Eric or maybe Ivanka, I can't remember. Yeah,
one of them.
Yeah, one of the. I can't remember which one's the mom, which one's the daughter ever.
Neither can he.
Yeah, but there'll be a small transition period where one of them's got to take over because Barron won't be ready.
Yeah.
But then it'll be Trump, someone temporary in the family, Barron.
Monarchy. Monarchy.
Right.
That is that's what we call in the political compass world authoritarian right.
Yes.
The most authoritarian right you can get is monarchy. It's a concentration of power into a single individual and their bloodline.
Right.
I think people look at democracy and they see, this centrist Democrat wins and this right-winger wins. The centrist right is back and forth, back and forth. It's like, what if we just put a crown on one of these guys?
Right.
And then they could have some long-term planning, maybe they could get some stuff done. And I look at that and I say no, because I love democracy.
Right, and that's apparently rare.
Yeah.
In both the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah, I think democracy is going through a hard time right now. We were playing Jenga, and I was thinking this is a lot like democracy.
Right. You pull one wrong Jenga block out, and it all collapses.
It all comes crumbling down. Yeah. Anyway, we're living in very illiberal times, I would say.
It's bad right now. I really do feel like. It is probably the roughest time in like modern politics where like there was a progressive trend in something. Like even if we weren't winning on one topic or subject, there was another where we could put our time and effort into. But right now I feel like everything's very stagnant because if not moving back on certain things, at least rhetorically, like for example, I really do think when it comes to our political media, the right is certainly winning when it comes to like their anti-LGBTQ campaigns right now.
Yeah.
And like it is a weird time. That's why like I really can't wait for like the November elections to just be over and done with.
Yeah.
Like obviously between Biden and Trump, I prefer Biden. But more than anything, I want it to just be over so we can finally, everyone can be ready for what comes next.
Yeah, I think it's time to move on from this. I did not want to see these guys go head to head again. I'm bored.
It's not even just boredom. It's like, I am bored too, but it's like, how are you supposed to like build upon something where no one wants to talk about anything but this one thing, the election?
Yeah.
And that election doesn't, it's not a policy issue. Like they're not running on policy.
No.
Policy does not matter.
They're running on who would I get a beer with?
In this one, it's not even. Usually it is,
Yeah.
but in this one, it's more like, for Democrats, it's democracy's on the line. Just the general idea of democracy, no specific.
It's on the line.
Yeah, and then for Republicans, it's the children and the culture. Trump must win, so everything, progress stops and everything goes rightward.
Yeah.
It's again no policy.
Yeah.
Because for them, it's not even about like any specific policy. It's about the overall culture. They care more, like the last interview I had with Stacey K, we sort of got on this Star Wars tangent, but the reason we got there is because we were talking about how like the culture wars are drifting so rightward right now.
Yeah.
And honestly, the right cares more about those culture war issues than they do about any other real policy.
It's
right
true.
now.
It's true. It's completely motivated by culture issues, which is kind of interesting. You'd think that there'd be other things to talk about, but no, that's what they're.
Is that the same in Canada?
No. In Canada, the only guy making class arguments is Pierre Poilievre.
Really?
Everyone else is drinking the fluoride, and he's making class arguments from the right, and that's why he's so successful, is because he's actually talking about the economic issues that people are facing.
The thing is, like, with everything to say about Biden, the one thing he has continued to be good on is labor.
Interesting.
He just doesn't. He's just bad at messaging. Is it the same in Canada, where like the Trudeau and his party are actually good on labor but just bad at messaging, or they actually just suck?
I think they're bad at both.
Okay.
Yeah. But what are you excited for, like, post this election? What are you looking forward for?
Just for those sort of everyday Democrats to move past the idea of the election's the only thing that matters. Can't criticize Biden because that might make him lose to Trump.
Yeah.
Just them to be motivated like they were in 2016, how they were with Black Lives Matter in 2020.
Yeah.
For them to actually once again fight for something that's more than just our guy winning.
Yeah. It's kind of soul crushing and soul crushing and just more importantly boring when you feel like you can't criticize the guy running because you want something better.
And the thing is, like, every leftist that I know, they're not criticizing Joe Biden because they want him to lose.
Yeah.
They're criticizing Joe Biden because they want him to do better. Like, I said it earlier, but I've been saying this since Joe Biden was elected. He has surprised me. Before October 7th, 2023, he had surprised me. Easily the most, again, bar is low, with that addendum there.
Yeah.
Easily the most progressive, modern U.S. president.
Yeah.
Even better than Obama.
Yeah.
And then October 7th happened, and it really hurt his stature among young people and progressives.
Yeah.
And it's not just this thing where it's like, oh, it's this war. It's not a war, but it's this war that's happening over in the Middle East. Why does it matter so much to progressives and leftists?
Yeah.
Well, it's because fundamentally, progressives and leftists believe that what happens somewhere, even outside of America, matters here, because we believe in intersectionality, in caring about other people,
and also because we gave them all those things that they're killing the people with.
And I was just gonna get there, and of course, the main thing is that we give them all this.
Yeah, I think it would be a better argument if we weren't giving them all the murder weapons.
I mean, it would not be an issue for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Like, the left would still care about it.
Yeah.
But it would not be a electoral issue for Joe Biden. It would not be an electoral issue for Jamaal Bowman.
Yeah.
It would just not be an issue in U.S. politics that matters electorally, because there would be no critique of the politicians.
Yeah. Do you think there'd be a split if that wasn't happening right now? Like, if we weren't funding them, there wouldn't be this big of a rupture in terms of this being an issue?
Well, I think it's a good question, actually. I do think it would still be an issue, but I don't think that, like, that Democratic base would care. So wouldn't that dynamic of don't criticize Joe Biden wouldn't be there, because they wouldn't care about the issue, because we wouldn't be criticizing Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Obviously, there would still be, AIPAC and far-right Israeli organizations that would want the U.S. to get involved and support Israel. But yeah, I do think the dynamics would be a lot different.
Yeah. I'm a criticism maximalist. I just like criticizing.
Right.
Doesn't matter who.
Right.
I just want to hate everything.
Right.
I just want to. My political spectrum that defines me the most isn't like, socialism versus capitalism or authoritarian versus libertarian. It's more pessimism versus optimism. I'm pessimaxed.
Right.
I'm pessimaxed.
See, I'm usually the optimist.
Really?
And this is the rare time period where, like, I'm telling my audience, everything sucks. There's nothing to look forward to.
Yeah.
Like, how does your audience feel? Like, what have they said to you?
I cultivate as much pessimism as possible in my audience, because I'm trying to get them to hate the status quo and reality more broadly. So yeah, they're not doing too well. Yeah.
what is their sort of like when you put, upload videos, do streams or whatever, like what is the issue that they keep coming back to? Like what does your audience want you to cover? Like what has been the big policy for them?
The biggest policy,
or big issue, even if it's not a policy, like even if it's cultural, yeah.
It's a good question. Well, first of all, they're kind of all over the place because there's all different sorts of political tribes out there that I try to appeal to. But I'd say the main one is getting me to wear cat ears.
Interesting.
No, I don't know. It's like it's so broad, and I'm not really that prescriptive.
Right.
I try to describe politics. Like I just try to describe where people are at and where the political tribes are at and where they're moving, and then you can do it. Like if I say like, fascism is on the rise, you can do whatever you want with that, but it's like that's just the truth.
Well, it does cultivate a specific type of audience, and then they interpret it in a certain way. Yeah. I mean, I didn't realize that that is something that's missing from the political discussion. Furries.
Yes.
We should remember that they're a constituency as well.
Yeah. I'm not seeing any politicians go for the furry though.
It's a major oversight.
Yeah. And what you have to watch out for is the right is very good at co-opting some left-wing signifiers. So if you see Trump wearing cat ears, be on the lookout because that could be the swing.
I mean, Trump has been all over the place lately. He used to be anti-crypto. Now because he's trying to get votes from anywhere, he's all of a sudden pro-crypto.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you could convince him that there was like a block of people with really specific beliefs, you would see him adopt that as a part of his identity, and that would be awesome.
He's ready. I mean, if someone tells him about furries and that there's an opening there,
Mr. Trump, have you heard about the furries? There's like millions of them, and they're a voting bloc, and they're undecided right now.
What would be hilarious is if Trump found that opportunity, and he was the one who decided to start putting litter boxes in public school bathrooms.
That would really come full circle. Okay, well. Thanks for having me.
No, this was great. So I guess one last thing.
Yeah.
You're out here, this Progressive Victory Jamaal Bowman canvassing event. What are you hoping to get out of it? You came here from Canada, registered foreign agent. What are you hoping to accomplish?
I am truthfully here because I don't know that much about politics.
That's great.
And I want to see how a campaign is run. I want to see what mobilizing volunteers is like. I've done political work in Canada. I've never done any political work in America, not real world political work. I think it's important to engage in reality. I think it's important to leave your house and make actual change. I'm also here to just hang out with my buddies who are with me from Toronto. I have a studio in Toronto, and they're with me. They came from that Internet Person studio, community there.
Cool.
Honestly, I'll do anything. If someone asks me, I'm high in agreeableness.
Hey, I mean, this is great. Listen, you don't have to be politically active. You don't have to know to come out and get politically active. I mean, look, I'm looking at your hat. I noticed for the first time it's a Hillary Clinton hat. We have a crossover voter here who, if he could vote, he's a Hillary Clinton supporter.
Oh, I've got some fraud plans.
Right, there you go.
I'm voting for Hillary.
Oh, well, there we go. Writing in Hillary.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm still with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
JREG, thank you so much. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I don't know who's next, but
yeah, I don't know either. But we'll be taking guests. This has been a lot of fun.